Thank you so much for being here today, you guys. I really appreciate you checking out this edition of the REI Hacker Podcast. I am really fortunate and blessed to have my next guest with me. His name is Bill Allen. Bill is a real estate investor. He's based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and he's a former Navy pilot. He and his team currently flip and wholesale over 80 deals per year. Bill's also the owner of a really cool company called Seven Figure Flipping. It's an education company and a community of action-taking real estate investors. Bill, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I know you've been traveling and you got your hands in lots of really cool things. What is going on?
Not much. I'm back from the beach. This is my second day back in the office. I feel like I've been out for the whole summer. It's amazing. And I'm just excited to be here, man. I love doing these things. So
That is really cool. We were just talking about how you and your family have been traveling, but you've been building businesses for years. You've really, it's been impressive to see what you've been working on. I ran into you recently at the Squad Up event, and you were showcasing one of your newest projects and businesses,
yeah.
which is like an event registration and planning and kind of like a logistical platform. What's that one all about?
Yeah, it's called In the Room. So we've been running live event for probably 9 years, called Flip Hacking Live. So we got up to probably having a max of like 1,100 people at this event. And I really like data, numbers, and analytics. And a registration company for the badge printing that we were using for years got sold, and we couldn't find a solution. So the long story is I really just wanted to track all the people that were in the room. Like I wanted to figure out how to use the data to make more money, have a better event, just communicate to people the right way. What did they like, what did they not like, and get information to make the next event better, to just provide a really great experience for them and also make the company money. And so we went to work and just like we built a live event registration platform effectively, that also does like data tracking. So at Squad Up Summit, we were doing some really cool like behind the scenes stuff of really helping them determine what sessions were the best. We got data during check-in. We had a couple survey questions of like how many deals people did and how many rental properties they had, so that we could understand the audience better before the event started. We did some like checking in, we do like active and passive tracking of the guests to see, what sessions they're attending, which ones are they not attending, what are they interested in, that kind of stuff. So a lot of really cool stuff that platform does. I built it over 2 years, and I say it's really me and a team of a couple people that helped me. I was just I'm the idea guy,
Right.
and we now we like bolt on to other people's live events and help them, make more money. What I love to do is consult with them, give them some ideas, some strategy,
Oh yeah.
maybe a couple things that I've seen that I've worked at other events because we do so many of them. So now I don't just do my events. I get to attend events like that, and we do funnel hacking live for Russell Brunson. We do Hunter Thompson's events, a woman named Allison Maslin. We do some really great events at people that are, doing really big things, and I get to see what's working and what's not working for them. So it's really cool. I get to see behind the scenes and have conversations with other event holders. And we just built like a $97 a month platform for people who have like RIAs and meetups and stuff like that to just help them build their list,
Right.
and maybe just a couple survey questions. So it has just like name, email, phone number, and you can add 2 survey questions. So it's like, how did you hear about this meetup? And then you can have multiple choice options. So you know that people are coming from Facebook, or people are coming from an ad, or it was a referral from somebody. And that's the kind of data that you want. And now and they just check in on an iPad. It's really simple. You just download an iPad app and,
Hmm.
just type in their name, email, phone number, and you got their information, and you can export that and put it in your CRM, start sending them emails and make some money. So just anything from like somebody who's just doing a meetup all the way up to somebody who's doing, I mean, yeah, I guess I can probably say we're trying to, work with Tony Robbins. UPW has like 15,000 people. So trying to
Oh
figure
wow.
out how we help them make more money at their event is like our next step. I've been targeting Tony for a few years now. So,
Yeah, I can imagine he's not easy to get to, but the simple
I
fact
still
that
won't get to him. I'll talk to his team, but yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that you were actually there. Like when I was in line registering for the event, like you were there working the tabs and moving around, like being there and seeing it firsthand, I'm sure makes a huge difference in really understanding what's happening on the ground. Because if it
Yeah.
was third party, like I think a lot of stuff would be lost in translation.
Well, there's a few things that are really beneficial to that. The cool part was, there's, I don't know, they had about 2,000 people there. And I mean, it's kind of disappointing that nobody knows who I am, but I could kind of fly under the radar and just kind of be there and watch and observe what's going on. Whereas the host can't be out there, they get bombarded at those events. Like at my
Yeah.
event, I can't even move through the hallway.
Right.
So what I'm able to do is I'm able to go to those events and see kind of like what are people saying? How are they feeling? How's everything working? What's the flow like? Getting the energy up. And when I go, like, they hired me to come in and help them at that event, but I'm there as like, a partner of theirs to figure out
Mhm.
how I can make it more efficient, make them more money, and find the gaps and weaknesses in what they have and strengthen it with my team. And so it was cool to be able to see that. And it also helps me in my business. Like it gives me ideas. They're doing things that we're not doing. I get to watch the offer. I get to watch the how the people are interacting. I get to watch like how well they do. I get to watch what they do right and wrong, and like just take my own information. And I always have a notebook, and I'm always learning.
Yeah.
So it's cool because when you host an event, you should be on stage. You should be running the event. You should not be thinking about all the little things that are going on behind the scenes. And what if you had another person? And I'm more of an operator than I am like a big front of the house guy. I'm probably a better number two guy than I am a number one guy. And so having me behind the scenes at an event to be able to run like the strategy and operations of the data and software, and then give you advice post event for next year's event, give a presentation afterwards, all that stuff. I would say it's pretty valuable. You have almost 10 years of experience running events and I mean, I'm in all their team meetings. I'm giving advice. I remember at Pace's event, they were going to say, if you've never done a deal, don't buy this offer. And I was like, 45% of your audience has never done a deal before at this event. You
Wow.
cannot say that. You will,
No.
so a lot of the strategy can change with real-time data like that if you know your audience and who's there and what to offer them and things like that. So you think you know your audience, but without those kind of questions that we were asking, you don't really know. So
No, you don't. I thought
yeah, but
it
you saw
was
me working. Like that was me working out.
I
I work
did.
at other people's events that I do at my own.
No, I thought that
Yeah,
was really cool because it sounds like you're like a systems and processes guy,
for
right?
sure.
Data. And that probably comes from your background in, checklists and stuff that you had coming up through the Navy and flying planes. Like what's the correlation between how you learned logistics and processes and systems by, being a pilot and now how you operate your business now?
Yeah, I would say like it's probably always been instilled in me. I was an engineer, so like I love math and science and data and numbers. And so, it's really just I can talk to people, I can interact with them, but it definitely I know that I'm not a natural extrovert, so I'm much more like people drain my batteries a little bit.
Yeah.
I'd rather be in a spreadsheet a lot of times, and that would just fire me up. I love turning $1 into $2 and just figure out how to do things that like tinker with stuff. So that's what I
Yeah.
love. Like I can bolt onto somebody else's business and just kind of tinker with it and make more money as a consultant. So that's really fun for me. Yeah, but it's just kind of always been that way. The military was very much systems and process oriented. Like you said, I flew airplanes and helicopters for 20 years. I retired from the Navy last year. And I, yeah, everything was checklists. I was a test pilot for the Navy, so I flew all kinds of like new stuff all the time. Probably
Mm.
flew 50 different aircraft doing that job. And I mean, I didn't know how I didn't never flown it before. So if I don't follow the checklist, I'm probably going to break something.
Yeah. Talk
And
about
so,
tinkering, man. That's like tinkering at the
yeah,
highest level.
totally. We would like I got to strap rockets on the helicopter, and we were firing rockets for the first time ever on a H-60. Forward firing like guns, 50 cals on the front. We're shooting like new weapons out of the back. I mean, and boring stuff like putting a new radio in there and sitting in a cockpit of an aircraft getting zapped in a hangar by a bunch of electromagnetic rays, and
Oh,
then seeing if it worked or didn't work or if it caused any problems, like boring stuff like that. To foreign military sales simulators, we got to do a lot of cool stuff. So
Oh,
It's
yeah.
yeah, and it correlates to business really well. I think most of the people that I know who are really big entrepreneurs are just like visionaries. There's not a lot of like really great operators and number two people. So I just find that I get things done probably faster than most people. And I'm always trying to find out like shortcuts and easy ways to do it. I
Hmm.
always call my businesses like put together like duct tape and bubble gum. Like it's not perfect, but it's just like a little Frankenstein model of what I see a
Yeah.
lot of other people doing. So I'm a really good student. Like I said, I'm sit front row, I take notes and I watch what other people are doing. And I just say, hey, what if I tried that over here? And then I took this element over here and you kind of mix it together like Frankenstein. So it's always been
Yeah.
my thing. I don't have a lot of like original thoughts. Although I think the software business has a couple original items that are
Oh,
really
yeah.
cool.
Well, that's that whole concept of, building an MVP to get it out there and see how it works. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really big in the startup world, right? Which is essentially what in the room is or was,
Yeah.
right? But
Still
still, like
is for
you're
sure.
still
We're still
really
very
ramping
much
that up.
startup mode.
How much customer feedback do you take? Do you meet with your customers in real time to see how they like it? And, there's that whole
For
balance of,
the software business.
yeah, for the software business and
Yeah, I
incorporating
mean,
their feedback, but you can't build everything.
yeah, so that's a big problem for the software business is we have
Yeah.
and I'll say the developer is very much like sometimes he gets caught in the weeds of doing this stuff. He's like, "Oh yeah, I can do that. I can do that." So the biggest thing that I do is like I have to be the barrier between the customer and the software developer. So like they
Yeah.
cannot talk to him. Like they talk to him, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, we should do that." And like, "No, that does not make us any more money. It delays everything." So there's a couple things that we do. Number one is we have people like give us the feedback, and then we kind of weigh and look at what's the timeline, what else are we going to lose if we do that, how hard is it, and because I have a couple of perfectionists that work with me in that side of the business, so I think the software developer that I have, he's amazing, but he's very much like he wants it to he'll take extra time to make sure it's perfect. And I'm very much like, hurry up and break stuff. Like, let's just launch it out there and go. But a product like that, you can't launch something that has a bunch of, bugs because he would physically have to be there or fix it on site. So we take a lot of feedback from them. But what I have to do is I have to say, that's just not what we do. So one
Hmm.
of the biggest things that we have, so we're a live event registration platform. So people check in. So if you think about you're going to a live event, you walk up to an iPad and there's an app there. And that's our app. And then you're checking in, you're hitting a button, it's got their branding and logo on it. And then you're making sure that you're looking up your name, email, phone number. We're getting all that information. We're signing a waiver. So media release, they can use your likeness, non-disclosure agreements, things like that are usually in there. The customer gives it to us and we upload it. They digitally sign it. We could hold it. And then there might be a survey question or two. There's an in-app upsell where they can buy VIP inside the app, which is really cool.
That's smart.
And then we're printing out the badge right there on site. And so then the lanyard, the badge goes in a plastic cover, and that's kind of what they're wearing. And then we have some QR technology where they can network on site. They can like scan the code with their phone, and they can get the Instagram and YouTube links and phone numbers if they want and stuff like that. It's all and the QR code also helps like sponsors can capture leads that way. They can upsell that. There's a lot of things that we do. But if you think about that, you have that platform. And so now what most people are asking us for is, can I sell my tickets? Do you have like a landing page that you can create like Eventbrite to sell our tickets, or a
Hmm.
funnel or something like that? And so the team's like, we should build this. I'm like, I do not want to be in the business of running websites that people drive traffic to. Like, just take your CSV file and upload it, or we'll API plug in ClickFunnels, Go High Level, Eventbrite, whatever you want. You sell the tickets. Like you figure out how to sell tickets. Like, I'm not selling your tickets. And then you upload it into the system, and then we take it from there. So
Yeah.
we really are from on-site at the event to post-event. And because we do marketing strategy for the people after the event. How can I help you gather as much data and information as you can? How to communicate to that customer? Active and passive tracking at the event. And by active, I mean they can scan the QR code on the badge and see that you're walking into the room. And passive is just, we know that you're walking in or out of the room, and when you're in there. So there's a couple of things that we can do that are really cool, but I just don't want to get in the front end game. Like, it's just really
Yeah.
crowded, busy, and nobody's ever happy with that software.
You can build
So
forever, right? You can
yeah,
absolutely build forever.
yeah.
And I mean, we go against that every day at Privy. People are always like, when are you going to add skip tracing? I'm like, there's 1,000 skip tracing companies out there. We don't need to add another one. Like
Yeah.
there's just one extra step to download the CSV, put it into some skip tracing company and get it, right? We don't need to go build it. And then there's that opportunity cost, right? Every minute we have them spending time building some new thing that people have already built, and we're not innovating and we're not
Yep.
building new exciting things. That's where
Totally agree
I
with
think the
that.
best dollars are spent is in the innovation, not duplicating someone else's efforts.
Yeah, and we right now we're the only software like live event registration software that I know of on the market. And you call this a hacker podcast. I pretty much just go and look at what everybody's doing
Yeah.
that has an in-app upsell live at the event. So you go there and immediately 100% of your audience has to say no to your VIP offer at the event. So if they've general admission ticket, so you didn't see it at Pace's event because they had sold out a VIP ahead of time. But
Mm.
every other event we do, right there where you check in, if you're general admission, you're getting a funnel inside the app to determine whether you want to buy an upgrade. And then immediately you're upgraded in the app and your badge prints out as VIP now. So when your
Oh
friend
yeah.
goes in the VIP line and you go in general admission line, it's the most likely time that that person's going to buy it.
Oh yeah. They're
And
in the environment. They're excited. People are talking
yeah,
about it. And I thought even
exactly.
too, like the people at the table were doing something special for people that decided to go VIP, right? So
Yep.
that
Yep.
there's more excitement around it.
Yeah.
That's just,
There,
it's
yeah.
really smart.
The shirts, the hats, and so what we do at a lot of the events is when somebody upgrades to VIP, there's this little confetti that flies in the app. It's like
Yeah.
you pay for it, the confetti pops. And then what we like to do is we like to have somebody at that station, like ringing a bell.
Yeah.
You go into, so I used to work in bars in Ocean City, Maryland at the beach. And when you gave a big tip, we would ring the bell.
Yeah.
And people would be like, "What's going on over there?" It's like, "Oh, they just got a fat tip." And like, I want them to ring the bell. So I was
Yeah.
like, how can we integrate this stuff and like, promote and get people excited to do it? So we do a lot of that stuff at events is just help people, make it a buying environment and atmosphere, right from the beginning, and also a place that they feel like they're getting really good service up front. So like me being there at that event and seeing me in line working was very much me just trying to figure out what the best way for this audience is. And because it was probably like day 0 and we still had a ton of people to check in day 1. So at that team meeting, I was like, hey, here's what I saw. Here's the speed of check-in. Here's where you guys are getting jammed up. Let me do a little extra training tonight or tomorrow morning beforehand so that there's not a line because we don't want a line. And so some of those things that I saw, they're like, just little inefficiencies that I can correct.
Yeah. That's really cool. It's really cool to look at your career, like your journey, starting off, not starting off, but at least what I know of, like your military career. And then at some point you got interested in real estate.
Yeah.
And then you decided, okay, I'm gonna kind of take it from a side hustle and transition to full time. Like tell me how that happened.
Yeah. So I was I got married. I got engaged to my wife pretty late, I would say, in life. It was like upper 30s. I was kind of like the bachelor flying and traveling around and all that stuff for a long time. Met my wife in England when I was at test pilot school, and we moved back to the US. I had one rental property then, and was like kind of interested in real estate. I was kind of watching the flipping shows and stuff. That's really where it started. And then we got pregnant pretty fast. So I was like, I was used to saving like 60% of my income every single month. Like I would save it. I was so cheap. And I was like, mapped it out. I mathed it all out. I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 65. And just by saving money, that was my goal. I was going to make like, 150,000 a year. That's the most I ever met anybody was making was 150,000 a year. And then I was tracking my net worth every single month. And my real estate house was like going up in value and it was increasing my net worth faster than the stocks and all this other stuff. I was doing index funds, pretty much only index funds, and just saving money, like cutting out like my wife started going to Starbucks. I was like, why are you going to Starbucks? Just make coffee at home. It's
Right.
$5. We can't do that. We got to put that into our savings account. And so I found real estate. I flipped my first house when I was in Maryland at test pilot school on the side because I wanted to make some extra income. I made $43,000. It was like half of my military salary. it took me 6 months to do it. And when I look back now, I was making about $12 an hour all the
Right.
time I spent there. Like I did the math now, like doing a webinar about it. I was just like, but that was game changing for me. Like it changed my belief system and like half of my income. I was like, wow. And like a typical engineer, I was like, let me see if I can do this again because this might have been a fluke, you know?
Hmm.
And so it took me 6 months to find my next deal. We moved from Maryland to Pensacola, Florida. And I almost gave up because it was taking a long time and I was getting frustrated. But I found another deal. I just happened across um, a estate sale. And I showed up in my uniform on the way home from work and started talking to this family because I had heard on a podcast that somebody buys houses at estate sales. And I bought this house, fixed it up, and sold it, made 45 grand. And I was like, okay, I can do this. Like it's repeatable now. Like I've proved
Right.
the model.
Did you
How
shorten
can
the
I
timeline or anything to get your
No, it still took
hourly
me
rate
six
up?
months. I was doing all the
Oh,
work. I was doing a lot of the work myself. Contractors didn't
yeah.
show up. I mean, I remember doing tile on my flight suit on the way home from work all night one night to get it ready for the next contractor to come in. I was doing the grout. It was miserable. And so yeah, I still made a lot of mistakes, screwed some stuff up. And then I got some help. That's when I actually joined. I joined Seven Figure Flipping after that. It was a mastermind I heard on a podcast. So the founder of that company, Seven Figure Flipping, is a guy named Justin Williams, and his partner Andy McFarland. They started this program. It was a race to $1 million. Like they were promoting like get to seven figures in a year. And I was like, what? Listening to this podcast, there's a guy named Mike Simmons on there. There was another couple called Brett and Laura. There were these people he was interviewing that were part of the group that were like, just join this program and talking about they're going to make $1 million this year. Like that's their goal. And I was like, I just have to be a part of this. Like, I don't even know. And remember, I'm cheap. I didn't even like, never bought a course, never been to an event, nothing. And I just made 45 grand. Well, my house hadn't closed yet. Like it was under contract. I was adding up the money and I get on a call with them and they're like, it's $25,000. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of money. And eventually, like it's a kind of a bit of a story, but my dad pushed me and I did. I joined, I paid 25 grand and I did 67 houses in the next 8.5 months.
Oh my
We did
God.
12 flips, 55 wholesale deals in 8.5 months. And I was flying for the military full time, 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, and one weekend a month in an airplane that has an ejection seat, oxygen mask, G suit. And I was up at like 15,000 feet doing aerobatics with students and teaching them how to land and fly. So like I couldn't take a phone call. I couldn't run my business during those hours. I had to build a system that would operate without me from the beginning with a team. And so I made probably personally about $600,000 that year, like cash to me. And I was off to the races. We did 135 houses the next year, did 187 the year after that. And I was still flying full time during those first few years. Like I was active
Wow.
duty. Yeah.
So you brought in
But
an operator, somebody who could run the day to day, maybe
so not really. I brought in, so what I did was I started looking at like the business that I was trying to create. And I started like as a flipper, I was going to flip. And then I met this guy, Andy McFarland, who was a volume wholesaler. And I was like, huh, like maybe I should try this. Like he had integrity. He was a really great guy. He cared for people. I hadn't seen that before, like at least in my area of wholesalers and what I saw online for most of them. Like they're kind of portrayed as like sleazy people that are robbing from,
right.
old ladies and stuff, just on the surface. That's like what Bigger Pockets was doing to them, I felt like at that time. And honestly, the people in my local area weren't much better, the people that I met. And so I was like, you know what? If Andy can do this, I can do this well. Like when I met him, it changed my entire mindset on what a wholesaler could be and what they should be, is really helping the community and being part of the ecosystem. And so, and I really just wanted to direct market for my flips was the plan initially, but I was getting all these leads and I was like, I got to do something with these. So I started saying, oh, maybe I can start wholesaling them. And what I was doing a lot of direct mail. This was in 2015. It's 2015.
Okay.
And so I hired somebody because the biggest problem I had is I couldn't answer the phone. Like I was spending all the money sending out the mail. So I was the marketing director. I was the operator. I was the brainchild. I was sending the mail. I was managing the CRMs. I was building all the systems and process around the jobs. And I needed somebody to like put on lock boxes and like make phone calls and answer the phone. And if I had like, because I would go on the appointments in the mornings or the evenings or the weekends, and I was still a salesperson. I was the dispositions person. I was the transaction coordinator. I did all of that stuff. I just needed somebody to tee me up and not waste all my marketing money. So I hired a woman named Dee Dee for $500 a week in the beginning. And that was one of the hardest decisions I made. I actually hired a woman named Jamie before that. After 2 weeks, she quit because her husband was moving to another location. And that was devastating after I put 2 weeks into training her. And then she quit. And I was like, oh, I'm not cut out for this. But then Dee Dee worked with me for like 5 years, and she was an amazing team member.
Sounds like Dee Dee was a savior. She kind of pulled it
Totally.
all
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, I mean, when you say that, it was like, just the way that we met, that we got connected, I kind of fell into it. I was like, hey, I just had somebody quit. Do you want to do this? Like, she was trying to wholesale on her own already. And that's where most of my people came. In the beginning, most of my people came from folks that I just met and networked with, and they were already trying to do it. And I was able to sell them on the vision of where I was going and how they could fit into my ecosystem and like live under my umbrella at that time. And all of those people have since like grown up and outgrown my umbrella and built like really cool big things. So it's been amazing to see. Like, I really love like building other leaders. And so
Yeah.
pretty much, I can name probably 10 people that have worked with me from 2015 till now and that are running $1 million companies or more right now. It's really cool to see. And when they want to leave, it's hard because you're like, oh, they're so good. But you know that they got to spread their wings and fly because they have way more potential. So if I can't build my umbrella any bigger, they got to go, fly somewhere else. So, yeah.
So you've been able to generate quite a bit of revenue from doing real estate. And, I'm part of Pace's group, and at Squad Up, one of their products they sold was the Owners Club, right? Which is this whole idea around real estate investors owning businesses.
Yeah.
Right. Which I think is amazing that they're actually helping people to transition from just being real estate and, being transactional to like, okay, what do we do with this money? Let's be more intentional about where we put it. And so you started doing that at one point, so much so that you actually bought the mastermind that you joined to learn real
Yeah.
estate, seven-figure flipping.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, so I was after the first year I did that 67 houses, and then the next year, what I noticed is Justin and Andy they were growing 7-figure flipping. It was getting bigger. We started with like 18 people, in the program, and then it was it started to grow, and they needed some more help. They wanted to build like a feeder called 6-figure flipping. They built, and they needed some coaches for that, and so they hired the guy Mike Simmons and his partner Mike Halper to come in and coach after the first year. And I remember exactly when they started becoming the coaches there. I just looked and I was like, why am I want to do this. Like, I want to be a coach. Like, because I was just like giving and giving, but I never told him that I wanted to do it. Like, I was still kind of timid at that time. I was just, letting the results and the fruit kind of speak for itself and just hoping that I would get asked secretly. Um, Yeah, it's probably what the girls felt like walking around high school before prom. Like, oh, I hope he asked me. I'm not going to ask
Right.
him. It's kind of like that. And then he called me one day and he was like, hey, I want you to be a coach for the community. Like, you're already doing it. Like, you're already giving back. You're on calls with people all the time. You're the biggest giver inside of this community. I want you to come in. Let's just make it official and have you come in and be a coach. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. And like he was like, I'll pay you these little peanuts here and all this like stuff. I didn't even care. I was just like, whatever, fine. I'll do it for free, man. I love this. And I just love the community so much. And at that time I had just hired a COO for my business. So I hired an operator, like a real operator, to come in. He worked for Nissan here in Nashville. Was a previous SWAT law enforcement operator, heard me on a podcast, on Danny Johnson's podcast, and was like, he reached out to me to meet with me. He wanted to do something together. I was like, I don't want to partner, but I do need some help. Do you want to come in and work with me? And he had a cushy job, like 250 grand a year, working for Nissan, executive, 401k, retirement plans, all this stuff, like vacation. He's got a wife and kids. And he just jumps and starts working with me in my business. And
Wow.
and it was amazing to have him come in and be the COO. I was working like 2 hours a week. We had a meeting 2 hours a week. That was it. And then it was 2 hours every 2 weeks. And I didn't do anything over there. Like, we were doing 200 deals a year, great team, great culture. I'd show up for meetings, quarterlies, those kind of things, cast the vision, do that stuff. And kind of just I was able to go over to seven-figure flipping, become a coach. And then after a short period of time, he wanted me to be the COO of that company. So became the COO of seven-figure flipping, ran the company for a couple years. And then it got to the point where I think Justin was a little bit burned out and he's just kind of tired of, like, we were hitting some snags in growing the business. It wasn't easy. It's some of the stuff that I'm feeling right now in that company, actually. It's a challenging market for an education company today. And so he sent this email to me and the coaches, just kind of like dropped a hand grenade it was 5 years ago this month, in the business, and was like, hey, if you guys want to buy equity or maybe consider buying it, I would be selling it. But otherwise, I think we're just going to have to do something different. And all the coaches are going to have to leave. Like, the company would have been in trouble at that point. And so I said,
Wow.
I said no. I said there's no chance. I remember I was at the same beach vacation I was just at last week. I was like, I'm on vacation, dude. I don't need this. My phone's blowing up with the other coaches. I was like, I'm just going to take a break. And he messaged me and he was like, hey, I think you're the only person that actually could buy the business. And I was like, I'm not interested. I'm on vacation. This is my week, man. I work so much. I was working like 60 hours a week, 80 hours a week. And then I was like, huh. And he came back and kind of lowered the valuation, like negotiated against himself in a message. And I was like, huh. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, wow, I could do this and this and this and this. And all these ideas that I didn't have as the COO working for somebody else started to come into my head of what I could make it and what I could do as the owner. And I was like, you know what? This could be interesting. And then I think it was 3 days later, I just talked to him. We jumped on a call, negotiated the price. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And a week later, I bought the company. Like, that was it. It was that fast. There was
You
no
go from
like,
no to owning a company in a week.
yeah, and a pretty big company too. And like it was a big like acquisition. So, but we rebranded everything. I wrote a 40-page like manifesto. I couldn't sleep for a week. Like, I
Wow.
had all these ideas that came flooding in, and it was really cool. Like, I didn't know where they were before. They weren't there before because it wasn't mine. And when it became mine, I was like, okay, I can see a path to, and I had 3 months until our biggest event, and I had a huge bill for it. And the way we split it was he took all the money. So anything that was in the account, he got. And then I got stuck with all the bills for the event coming up in October. But I was like, I don't care, I'll make it work. And I remember July 4th, I wrote this email sequence to sell a $97 a month product because I didn't know how I was going to make payroll on July 15th. And so I just wrote like a 3 email sequence and went all in and selling this $97 a month product. And I generated 20 grand, made payroll, and was off to the races after that. So, yeah.
Amazing.
So
So
that's like the shortest story I could probably tell about it. But yeah, I bought the company for my mentor. I'm like the hair club for men guy. I'm like not only a client, I'm also the president. You remember that
right.
commercial when you were younger? So,
Oh, I remember
uh,
it.
so that's my seven-figure flipping story, and I love it. I still run it. I hired a CEO a month ago, which is really cool. I'm excited for that. He's coming in. He's a partner in my real estate business, and it really is able to bring our real estate business, Blackjack Real Estate, together with seven-figure flipping again, like it used to be when I was actively doing the investment side of the single-family business. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
What were some of the things that you wanted to add to seven-figure flipping to make it yours, right? To really help
Yeah.
evolve it to where it would be profitable. So I've seen these terms seven-figure altitude and
Yeah.
seven-figure runway.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the evolution? Is that what you wanted to do?
Yeah, so I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I hired so I got a referral from a friend of mine. He's a guy who used to work with me that started a marketing business, named Ryan Smith. He's an amazing marketer. If anybody is like very niche marketing, he's incredible. He's a previous like hacker for the government.
Oh,
He
wow.
can pretty much find anything about anyone. It's really cool. And he recommended somebody who was in a mastermind with him for branding. And so I hired her, brought her in, and she just asked me a bunch of questions for like a couple hours. And I started pulling all these like little things out, like these colors and this I don't know how she did it, but it was amazing. She created like these logos, and then Barry Baumgartner, who runs a company called Sage, she was the event planner behind the scenes for Squad Up Summit. So a lot of the strategy and the process and the scheduling and sequence of that event is her mastermind. She works with Tony Robbins now. She
What's her
does all the
name?
strategy. Her name's Barry
Oh,
Baumgartner.
Barry. I met Barry.
Yeah. Yeah, Barry, her husband,
She
Blue, are both,
she
they're both
actually
there.
kicked me off stage at the
Ah,
event. I was supposed to present. I was back in
well,
the green room, ready to go up, and then she's like, "What are you doing here?" And I got
that's Barry.
bumped.
Ah, well,
Yeah, so that's my
yeah,
experience
Barry.
with
So Barry's
Barry.
the one in the green jacket that keeps everything running on time. But
Yeah.
she's the one who was like, we were like, just because we were 3 months out from the event. So we're branding and changing the names of things. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring more of my military background in it and make it mine, put my thumbprint on it. And so we came up with the term 7-figure runway and 7-figure altitude at that time. Barry is the one who kind of like pulled that out of me. And then the designer kind of built the logos and the branding and all that stuff for a new program. It was like a brand new offering. And to like, the new investor is kind of on the runway. They're doing the checklist. They're trying to figure it out. And eventually you get to take off and you get to go get up in the clouds and fly into the altitude. And so it was like 6-figure flipping and 7-figure flipping and 8-figure flipping before that. And I was like, people are, it's confusing. Not that like runway or altitude have anything to do with real estate at all. Um, but I just wanted to do something different. And the other thing that I did is really focus on the community. Like we were running, Justin was running like 70 or $80,000 of Facebook ads a month at that time. And I just turned them all off. So I
Mm.
turned everything off and I just went all in and doubled down on the podcast and our email list. And that's it. Let me just talk to our people. And what I found was we were bringing a lot of people into the community that were not the right fit. It was like bad apples were coming in.
Yeah.
So I also had to kind of, I hate to say it, but I had to kind of call the herd a little bit. Like I had to just kick some people out. I had to call some people and just say, hey, I'm sorry, but like I'm not renewing you into the group. And a couple of people that wanted to come back in, I said no to, and like I got a little bit of heat
That
online
was it.
then.
Yeah, probably some backlash from that.
There's a couple of people that threw some like serious online shade at me, but and it's funny enough, like they wanted to come in and I said no, and then they just bashed us online, And so I was just like, all right, well, this is how they're going to react. It's pretty childish. Because I wasn't talking about who they are and what problems I had with them, like their ethics and morals or anything like that. Um, but it's just not my place to blast that online. And so we did a lot of that and just kind of poured into the community. And what was cool is at our event, Flip Hacking Live in October, I had people who left the community years before that came back. They were like, we're coming back for this. Like we're back here for you. We're supporting you. And I probably had 10 people rejoin because of the direction the community was going. And so, I mean, I still believe that that's the path that we're going. I think my partner is even better at community relations than I am right now. So I'm really excited about that. But the challenge that we have as a company, I feel like, is we try to build best. Like I've been spending so much time building best. We're not best known.
Mm.
And so I heard Grant Cardone say on Undercover Billionaire too, best known beats best. And I'm like, man, he's totally right. I wrote it down. It was like 3 years ago I saw this. I'm like, man, I'm over here building best and nobody knows who we are. And so, I mean, it's perfectly apparent at the Squat Up Summit. I mean, I could walk around there no problem. And there were probably 10 or 15 people at that whole event who knew who I was, that bumped into me
Right.
and said hi or took a picture with me. And so like we're just scratching the surface as far as like media and traction and people who know who we are. So there's a lot of opportunity, but I've always focused on the product, a lot of time on the product, hoping that would drive. But really, what I've done the last year is focus on being more well known, more social media, more
Yeah.
attention, balls. Because what I see in the industry today is there's so many coaches, there's so many consultants, there's so many like, software companies, there's so many things. But the best known will always win. Like it will
Yep.
always win. And if you can build best and be best known, like it's your duty to be best known if you can build best. Because like a lot of times the best known is crap. And that's the hard part, is you really got to get out there and figure out how to earn the eyeballs and attention. And right now, the person who's winning and doing well are a lot of the people that have the media, the social media, or big media. So that's the area I think that I've been focusing on the last year. And it's a grind, it's a struggle. Like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, the stuff I've been working on that's not native to me. It's been hard, but it's worth it if you can just last eight months or so. If you can do it consistently for 8 months, it'll start blowing up. Like, I mean, we added 5,000 subs to our YouTube channel this past week. So
My
I've
God.
been yeah, I mean it's that's it just starts hockey sticking over time. And I think we're just getting started understanding how it works. So uh
You're so
the
fortunate to be able to do it that way because you got bills to pay, right? So that's why best known is one of those
yeah,
things where people are like, well, we got bills to pay. So let's go ahead and just do best known and we'll figure out the best as we go. But then you get known for like putting out a crap product. Like people talk
yeah.
about it and then
Mhm.
that can snowball, right? And then you've
Oh
got
yeah.
high churn, right? And so you don't have good numbers. And so it can really create a bad situation if you don't balance it correctly, whether it's product or service or, like software. But you were fortunate to be able to spend the time to build it the best way and then worry about being best known after the fact because you had revenue. Revenue was coming in from somewhere. And it
Yeah.
worked out.
I,
It worked out.
one thing I will say is this past 12 months, I've gone deep into this and spent a lot of money on it for the future.
Mhm.
And like I haven't hit the lottery yet, I can tell you that. So, but I think it's gonna be worth it. It's challenging. We're hitting a point right now, especially in the software business. There's a big burn rate there, and it's not always like regular. We're not a very big like recurring revenue business. I built the $97 a month model for like meetups and REIA meetings and things like that to bring in more like like low ticket recurring revenue
Mhm.
for the business, but just to pay some of the bills. But I mean, we're even looking at potentially taking on some equity investors, like the right equity partners right now for the software business, for the live event registration platform, because you're like my partner, he needs to pay his bills, and
Yeah.
we're getting to the point where because I've self-funded everything, I've put all my own money in there, and we're in the black. We're just like dipping into the red now. We were in the black for a while. And so but it's, yeah, we have ton, I mean, I got hundreds of thousands of dollars in inventory for sure of equipment and stuff like that we use at these events. So but it's not, I'm not out of the woods yet. So I definitely had to like dip into my bankroll of previous monies that I made to plan for the future for a lot of what we're doing right now. So
Well, it's a
that's
good thing you're such a good saver,
yeah,
right?
that's right. That's right. Well, I'm pretty strategic with the money. And so when I make something, it's like, where am I going to put it? Like it gets
Yeah.
earmarked for something, whether it's growth or it's stabilization or it's investment. And I don't know, I kind of do have, I lived like most people won't for a very long period of time so that I can fly around in my airplane today. So when people are like, oh yeah, that guy's got an airplane and he does this, he travels, goes on vacation. It's like, I'll tell you right now, it was a long time of me
Mhm.
like not saying no to a lot of things for almost 20 years to
Yeah.
be where I'm now. And I'm not even like that well off. I'd
You know
say,
that
yeah,
life.
top 1% for sure of the world, or zero point 0.1 probably. But when you fly an airplane into some of these places, there's money that you can't even imagine.
Oh, I
It's,
bet. Yeah, we were
yeah.
up in Kalispell for community camp Pace's event, and there was an airport right behind where we were staying at the hotel, the Hilton Garden, and you could see like some of these nice planes fly in, but there was some other planes too that weren't as nice. So like, but once you're on that runway, now you're in the same rooms potentially
Oh yeah.
as the people that are landing there, regardless of where they came from. Steve Harward.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Steve's a friend.
Yeah, he's got a nice one. Um,
Yeah.
but
Steve's a big reason why I bought the plane that I have now. When he
yeah.
bought his jet, I was with him, and he had just bought it, and he was telling me, I was like, dude, if you got a jet, I need one. Like, come on. It was like I'm gonna fly myself. Because I had just flown out there. I flew out to Salt Lake City where I was with him, and I flew my Bonanza, and it took me 10 hours to get there. And I was like, over the Rockies, I was like, this is ridiculous. If I'm going to be coming out here some more regularly, I need a bigger plane that can go faster. So
Yeah.
he was that little conversation right there was a big, big part of me starting to shop for a bigger, nicer plane. Yeah.
Well, the next thing you have to get so you can keep up with the Steves of the world is an e-foil because that's what he took out on the lake last week or the week before last. He was riding his e-foil. So
I have no desire to keep up with the Steves. I can't. We're not ready for that yet. So,
yeah.
I'll tell you, I like to just like to say yes to now at my point, like experiences and memories and things like that, and just new things. Like I love new stuff. I like learning new things. I like challenging myself. I like testing myself. We talked a little bit about the TV show. Like this totally new and uncomfortable for me. So like those kind of things are like
Yeah.
I saying yes to that stuff now, like new stuff, you know.
Well,
So
speaking of new, I want to set this up because we've kind of been going through the journey here. And you were talking about like the next thing here is like the YouTubes and the videos and the podcasts, right? So you're scaling up to be the best known, right? And so, 5,000 people in 1 month is pretty amazing. Like that kind of growth just doesn't happen. So you've got momentum.
yeah.
Then it's like, well, what's next, right? Which is this amazing TV show that you're going to be doing. So tell us about this TV show.
Yeah, for the last year, there's a guy in my community who's been working. His son was 13 years old when he started. So it goes back like to 2018 or 2017. We had a little girl, 12-year-old girl show up at our event with her dad. Her mom and dad are divorced, and her dad and her like did houses together. She would go with her dad to the houses, and she came to our event, like our big event for adults. There are probably 500 people there. She was the only kid under 18 at that event. Her name is Riley. And she started making videos, like YouTube videos with her dad, doing some of the marketing with him and stuff. And just that's what they did together when they were together.
Cool.
And the way they bonded. And it was just really cool to get to know her. And she came on the podcast, and then like, she wasn't doing a lot. She was helping her dad and stuff. And then that inspired some other kids to start, and other parents to bring their kids to the event. So the next year, 2018, there were like 5 kids at the event. 2019, there's like 10 kids at the event. 2020 was virtual. 2021, we had like probably 40, 50 kids at our event in 2021. And Riley and her dad spoke at that event. So I asked them to come up because she had just done a deal and made some money. And so I asked her to come present at that event. Well, those kids at the event got inspired, and then they started flipping houses. And in 2022, I had a 12-year-old who had flipped a house into a rental property. I had a 16-year-old girl who had done 3 houses. And in the audience, there was a 13-year-old kid who had done, I mean, maybe about 12, done his first like bird dog. He found a deal, he sold it to his dad and made some money. And so this just started kind of snowballing inside of our community. We started a kids program for wealth and business and real estate. We did a couple of kids events where we just like, is this our community is asking for this? Do they want it? And so we did some kids events, kids wealth workshops. And then in January of this year, we started a program called Teenage Tycoon. So it's a family program for kids and families that we bring in guest mentors to speak to them. We do trainings. I just shot a whole business video course this morning to produce and send out to them. So they have a financial course, now the business course, and then a real estate course is the last one that I'm going to film for them. And we do a book club once a month. We do 2 live events a year for them. And so while I was doing this in tandem, this kid's dad, his name's Ryan Whitefield, he was building this idea for the show simultaneously before I launched Teenage Tycoon. And then when I did, he calls me up and he's like, hey, I have this idea for a show. I want you to be the host. Like, you're my mentor. We've worked together. You're my son's mentor. Like, I want you to be the host of this show. And I was like, okay, I've been pitched TV shows before. I've said no to them. Wasn't that interesting. Didn't go very far. And so, but he has a lot of his investors are like real production people, like directors, executive producers, like film and videography people in Hollywood. And so he's like, we're going to make this show. I was like, all right, look, I'm here, man. If you need me, I'm going to be over here doing my thing. You just tell me what you need from me. And just recently I've been on a lot of calls over the last year or so, maybe a little over a year. We've been pitching it to networks, talking about it, but we don't want to sell the idea to a network. We want to own the show. And so we just, and it's going to cost a lot of money. It's cost millions of dollars to shoot these shows each season. So you got to come up with the money. No investor is interested in investing in a TV show of mine, like none of my investors, because there's like no guarantee that anybody's going to buy it. The networks want it, they want you to film it before they're going to buy it, And so it's kind of like chicken and egg for almost a year. And finally we found It's just the way it happened is incredible, but we have a signed guarantee contract right now, with a big network. So it's going to be streaming on Apple TV, on Roku, Hulu, Netflix, HBO Max, like the big networks where you can like buy Amazon, where you can like buy a season or rent the show, you know? Um, and so it's greenlit. And then we took that contract and we just recently, it's not completely done and signed, so I won't talk about who it is, but we took it to a company who funds movies and TV shows. And they take that contract and so you can collateralize your contract just like you would with a bank, and they're going to fund the project for us. So we thought we'd be raising money. We're going to do a Kickstarter campaign, and so some people can come on set and be executive producers and do cool stuff, get limited edition shirts, and see if, you know, our community will rally behind the show for the Kickstarter. And some people can fly with me out to the show, like in my airplane, and we'll spend time behind the scenes of the show to meet the cast and see the production and what it was like. And so it's a green light. It's called Kids Who Flip. It's a show about 6 kids that are flipping houses all around the country. And I'm going to travel around the country and follow them through the houses that they're flipping. We have Ollie Whitefield is one of the kids. He's 14. Last week, he sold one of his flips. He made $70,000, 70,000, 14 years old. Building a YouTube channel called The Teenage House Flipper. So you can check him out on YouTube. And it's just really cool to see. He will have a spinoff show. They already want him for a spinoff show on his own. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that's happening here. So that's big media. Like a big piece of being known, like you said, is I wasn't necessarily after that, but I know what's possible on the back end of that. And so I just think it can be really good. Like it's a show where I think we can have co-viewing. The parents and the kids are going to watch together. There's not a lot of that on TV right now. It's mostly crap or stuff that parents are going to watch when the kids go to bed, or the kids are watching, like, you know, stuff on YouTube or playing video
iPads,
games.
head down with their headphones on.
Yeah. So my hope is that this is a show that you can watch with your family together and bring back like the TGIF, the Friday night show, like when I was a kid. Like we used to, we'd get pizza and just watch TGIF as a family, you know?
Yeah.
And we don't have a lot of that anymore. How can we get around the table together? And so I'm excited. I think it's going to be on some Saturday morning programming for kids too, and like live. So there's a lot of things that are happening. So that's new. That's exciting. It's me learning. I hired a CEO for 7-figure flipping so I could focus on a lot of this. The next 2 months, I'll be traveling a ton for it. So yeah, I'm excited for that. So check it out. Kids Who Flip. We'll have a bunch of the media up soon, Instagram, YouTube. It's gonna, the show. Probably the show will air. We were hoping it would hit in the fall, but it'll probably be in the spring next year.
Okay. That's super exciting.
Yeah.
You must have trouble sleeping at night with all these really cool things happening. Like that for me would be like, I would have so many ideas just going through my head at all times.
So last night I did have trouble the past 2 nights, because 2 nights ago I built the Kickstarter campaign in 2 hours. And last night, which is not as easy as I thought. I thought it was going to be really easy. And then last night I had to build a website for the channel so we can get the trademark filed. So we had to start using the marks and stuff like that. So I did that. I was like, look, I'm back. I like do the things now. So sometimes I just like doing stuff. So just one piece of advice I'll give to anybody listening is don't ever get too big to clean the toilet. Sweep the floors and clean the toilets. I don't care if you're the CEO, or the owner, or you created this thing. It's like, man, when there's a mess, just clean it up. Like, and other people see you doing that, and they'll be inspired to do more. So, me and my partner Ryan, it's exciting. Yesterday we got the operating agreement kind of percentages mapped out of what we're going to do together, and some of the merchandise and media and stuff like that. So, it's exciting. So I want to do it. Like I was tinkering last night, and just the website sucks, but it's up. Like I'm not a website designer and developer. I'm just get it done. The MVP. It's an MVP, man.
There you go.
MVP.
It is.
Yeah. So
get it out there. You'll just refine it along the way. But man, Bill, you're doing so many cool things, and I'm excited for you. For people who want to work with you in some ways, people who are interested in 7-figure flipping, or they want to watch the show, like where can they go to find out more about working with you?
Yes, sevenfigureflipping.com is a great place for like the mastermind if you're a real estate investor. Really try to work with people who've done like one deal or more. We have a beginner program for newer people, and but if you're like real estate hooked and haven't done a deal before, we help plenty of people get their first deal. And then intheroom.live is the website for if you're doing a live event, any type. If you're doing a REIA, a meetup, something like that, we'd love to show you the software. Like it's new, it's edgy, it's not best known, but it's definitely the best on the market for sure. And the cool thing is we work with you directly. You're getting on a call with me or my partner to talk about the software. So right now, and then Bill Allen REI is my Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff. I do some pretty fun videos like interviewing people in the front of my plane and stuff like that. So that's what that channel's all about. It's a lot of aviation stuff, but I definitely talk about business, money, real estate, mindset, all that stuff. So that's it. That's probably the best way.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're super busy, but I'm really excited for you. I can't wait to see how things develop. I'm really excited to watch the show. I love fix and flip shows too. That's one of the ways I got, interested in the business. So I definitely want to check that out. And for those of you that are checking this out, make sure you go check out Bill's stuff, check out Seven Figure Flipping, and make sure you watch the show. It's going to be a lot of fun. And just like you mentioned too, it's going to be like family friendly type stuff where you guys can do things together. And that is just, it's been years since I remember, kids and parents kind of doing stuff. The kids are getting pulled away into technology and their iPads and YouTube, and parents are just look at it as a break, right? They're letting YouTube babysit their kids these days. So this show will be a really cool way for them to get back together and do something as a family.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so,
Inspire your kids to do more, like just and understand what you do. You're real estate investors. Like, the best way to get them involved is to see other people that are doing it most of the time. So hopefully it inspires a whole younger generation to be okay, jumping into real estate early. You can become a millionaire by the time you're 18, 20 years old. Like it's possible. So it's cool.
Yeah, that, and like with the wealth education too, right? Like understanding money, right? And how to earn it and the value of a dollar, right? Not going and blowing it on stuff and saving it and building that over time. So really cool stuff, Bill. Thanks again for being here. And for those of you listening, check out the podcast for future episodes. We're going to have lots of really cool, inspiring people like Bill that are doing exciting things, real estate investing, business, entrepreneurship. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you for listening. And we'll see you all next time. Thanks, Bill.
See ya.
That's a wrap on today's Real Estate Revelations. Thank you for tuning into the REI Hacker Podcast. Remember, every property has a story, and every deal is a lesson. Until next time, keep hacking the real estate world.